welcome to Model Kit Stuff and our first impressions video of the 1/72 scale Airfix Blackburn Buccaneer S2C. This is the Navy version. So this is a 2019 kit, so it's a recent kit. They've very recently, this year 2021, just re-released this kit in non-Navy livery, but essentially it's exactly the same kit. So let's have a look at the box. It's quite easily identifiable as a new tool Airfix kit because it's in the red box. So the layout of the box for Airfix is fairly standard, but we'll just take you through that. At the bottom here we have the kit number, which is A06021, and if you collect the air miles, then that's quite important because that 06 tells you how many air miles you need to have collected before you can get this kit as a freebie on your club passport. So on this side we have a picture of the front box artwork. Then on this side we've got the various different language warnings. Then we've got same again on the other box edge. We have nothing on the back of the box, and then on this side here we have the all-important detail. Let me flip the box upside down so it's the right way around for you. I have already removed my air miles and they're in their jar, all totted up. It's a skill level 3, so that means we've got quite a complex kit in there. It tells you here what paints you're going to use. So it says for both versions A and B you need all of these. Those are the Humbrol reference numbers, quite obviously as it's in a Humbrol box. And then it says the pilot is going to need those. So if you're not likely to put the pilot in, don't worry about it. So then we have the two different livery options, A and B, which pretty much are the same. I'm imagining the only difference really will be that the decals, as they've shouted out the same paints. And then we have a little bit of a history about the Blackburn Buccaneer. And right at the bottom there you've got a length 268 millimeters, width 186 millimeters, pieces 140. And then on the front you've got the same two livery options, and you've got this lovely picture in the beautiful Royal Navy blue, Fleet Air Arm blue, of the aircraft just leaving the aircraft carrier deck with the arrestor hook down. You've got a helicopter out there in the background. So the first sprue out of the box is frame A, which has got the large fuselage sections on here. So as I'm looking at this, the level of detail is really nice. So let's just take a quick look. So this is the bomb bay. Look at the detail inside there. Very nice indeed. The ends are blank, but there might be something going in there. We'll have to see when we look at the instructions. We're not going to have any issues with wing roots because there isn't any. It's all moulded in. We've got raised detail. We've got lovely recessed panel lines. We've got some recessed detail as well. That's really pretty. I've never built a jet fighter before or a jet aircraft before, so this will be my first. And I bought it because I like the colour, and it's a Fleet Air Arm, so it's almost navy. So We've got a wheel there, hub already moulded in. Let's not forget this is 1/72 scale. Got what looks like the front of the air scoops there, and this rear tail section. I'm guessing this is where there was a natural panel line anyway. Then we've got the top of the wings. We've got some lovely raised detail on there and recessed panel lines. Not quite sure what that section is there. And then, they might be the rear of the engines, and they look more like the front of the engines. That sort of elliptical, quite characteristic part of the look of the Buccaneer. Then we've got fuselage top. Again, very nice. I don't see any flash on this. There's seam lines visible, but no sink. And then part of the tail. Let's just flip this over. Oh, you can see there's some lovely wiring loom detail in these two parts. Let's flip it over and see what's on the inside. No detail really on the inside. It's a single-sided detailed sprue really, but that looks really nice. There's some very nice rivet detail on here. It's just very well done, very well done. Sprue B. So we have a nose cone section here. Again, we've got a number of different panels, all of which have some very nice fastening detail. Then we've got engine fans there. You can see the blades there all moulded into one piece, but there's quite a bit of detail around that. I think that's the tail cone closed, and that's the tail cone open, the air brakes open, which again has a real nice detail to it. Lots of recessed detail, some raised detail. Let's flip that over. That looks like part of inside of the engine area, and then we've got some very nice detail there. Look, that looks really authentic. The hinges perhaps look a little bit oversized, a little bit thick, but otherwise it looks really nice. There's some nice interior detail there on the inside of the cockpit. Also some pretty hefty injector pin marks. Whether they're in the way or not seen, we've yet to establish, obviously. Frame C. So we have, looks like the cockpit interior base there. Some of these parts look very plain, so I'm guessing that we've got decals to go on there, or maybe other parts, I don't know. More of the engine tunnel construction, and more of the we've got engine fan blades there again. Looks like quite an interesting construction of that. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Then we've got that's quite nicely done actually. There's quite a nice level of interior detail in there. I think that's where your tail wheel will sit when it's raised. You can see a little lump there where the wheel goes in, and that I think is the tail wheel there. That also looks like the tail wheel, but without the wheel on, so whether we've got a different option, don't know. And then we've got, I'm not sure whether that's some form of fuselage lump in some way. it's not the right shape to be a bomb, I don't think. And then we've got what looks like wing panels. Next out we have frame D. Lots of small parts on here. And so let's take a look. There's also a lot of detail. And look at this part 16, for example. The amount of detail on that one part. Airfix are excelling themselves, as they have been doing in recent years. The standard of what they're producing is really, really exceptional. It's really, really good. So we've got another wheel there. I wonder if that's to do with that rear wheel we saw. Then we've got the ejector seats. They're in two halves. They look quite detailed on the outside. What they'll look like on the inside, don't know. We've got other interior parts for the ejector seats. They appear to have the seat belts moulded on. We've got the pilots. They look very nice and crisp. There's no sink. You used to always get a big load of sink in at the waist, but there's no sink on there. So is that, yeah, undercarriage parts, rester hook. I'm not sure. They look like wing interiors. I'm not sure. Lots and lots of parts. It's going to build up to something that looks very intricate. Sprue E seems to have brought all the ordnance together. So we've got some very clear bombs here. Got the quite nicely done cones there. A little hatch there which has got some really beautiful detail on it. Again, no issues with the quality of the parts here. No flash, no sink. Really well done. There's not really any injector mark issues that I've seen either. So that's really quite nicely done. Level of detail that they've put into these parts is really, really high. And then finally we have frame F, which is the clear parts. There's quite a number of clear parts on here. So we've got the cockpit canopy, which appears to be in 2, maybe 3 parts. And we've got wing lights and possibly tail lights in there. We've got what looks like the targeting there. Not quite sure what these are. And that almost looks like a wing tip. Maybe there's a light in the wing tip. Parts are nice and clear. But you can see the moulding process has distorted this. So I've seen better clear parts. Even at 172 I've seen better clear parts. Just because the light as it's going through is distorted. So if you've got that closed, your pilot's not going to be clear. If you've got it open, I think it'll probably look better. But still, not bad at all. let's have a look at the decal sheet. There's a lot of decals on here. So Airfix normal layout, you've got at the top, you've got common to both livery options, and then underneath you've got the two different livery options boxed out. It's easy to cut these out and separate them when you're doing them. The spacing of the decals is good in the main. You've got lots and lots of very, very tiny decals to go on, but they all look very well printed. They're nice and clear. There's a whole bunch of them here dealing with the cockpit interior. But yeah, that all looks really quite nice. And then it just tells you there number 809 and number 800. Decals, let's have a look at where we're going to put them. So Airfix have given us this great big A3 technical drawing style page, which shows us exactly where to put all the decals. So it says position of common stencil data, and that's, you know, an A3 sheet that's very busy. When you consider this is 172, I wonder, is it to scale? Doesn't say whether it is. Let's get the parts and see. I'm just interested in whether this is to scale or not. So the answer to that is no, it's not. It would be really nice if it was, wouldn't it? But anyway, this is really clear. So you've got different parts of the kit separated out, so you can see exactly where the positioning is going to be. That could allow you to put some of these decals on as you build, possibly. And then you've got these different plane views. Yeah, there's a lot of markings to go on here, which is going to make this look very realistic when it's done. Yeah, I love this. Then we have the paint sheet. So again, we've got an A3 sheet. We've got B on one side, A on the other side. Very nice and clear. Gives you your Humbrol paint shout-outs. Obviously, they only reference Humbrol. They're promoting their products, and why wouldn't they? They're a business at the end of the day. And there's also the particular decals for this particular aircraft. So A is number 809, Naval Air Squadron, HMS Ark Royal, January 1972. So when I was a wee nipper. And yeah, it's very nicely laid out. It's nice and clear. It's not too small. They've not crammed it in. So putting it on the separate A3 sheet, which is a nice glossy colour sheet. I mean, for the kids, that's a nice poster, or someone who needs to put some wall coverings on the man cave. That's a lovely poster. There's a little instruction there. So if you're doing the folded wing version, you need to cut the decal along that line. Whether that's the actual decal size and you can use it as a template, I don't know. But yeah, all the different colour shout outs. Looks good. And of course, I'm no doubt once we go through the instructions, all the paints colours are shouted out anyway. So B, very much the same. It makes it really easy to look at the two options and go, which one do I like the look of the most? And I have to say, I'm probably thinking B. which is number 800 Naval Air Squadron, HMS Eagle, June 1971. So yeah, I quite like this. It just seems a little brighter somehow, the decals. Yeah. So there we go. That's the paint sheets. Very, very nice. So next, the instructions, and we've got a stapled together instruction booklet. The common style for Airfix. Gives you a little bit of a potted history of the mighty Buccaneer, as they refer to it, and then some specification information. Then I always think they put this in the wrong place. This should be step 1, but they put it at the bottom of at the front page, and I think a lot of people go, right, yeah, I'm not interested in that, let's turn over, and they miss this part, which is really important about washing your parts. Then we have a quick talk about the assembly instructions. So it tells you to study the drawings and practice assembly, dry fit parts before cementing them. So just a very quick, this is how to go about it paragraph. Then we've got the icons that are used in the instructions, so the key. So when you see these symbols in the instructions, you know you've got an option there, or you need to drill out, or you need to cut something off, or put a weight in it, or whatever. And then we start on step 1. And what Airfix have done in their more recent instructions is they've broken down the steps, so there's a lot more step count in their instructions, but it's a much easier process to construct their models. So step 1 starts with the seats, 2 halves put together. Then you've got the next bit going in and the paint instructions. Then you've got the other seat going together, the paint instructions, and you could even have done, it looks the same, so they could have just gone make 2, but they haven't. So they've made it nice and clear, so there's no errors in your build. Then we're building up, that's the forward wheel housing there, goes underneath the floor pan of the cockpit bulkhead, putting the seats in, and then we've got decals going on throughout steps 7 and 8. And then we're putting it in the nose cone, separate nose cone, by step 9. So first page is let's build up the cockpit. So this is quite an involved part of the build, if you consider that you're going to want to paint these and weather this and what have you before you put it in the 2 halves. There's quite a bit of activity going on there. What colour is it asking us to paint that? It's saying 165. I didn't see a paint shout out, that's interesting. Then we flip over. So we've got all the dials and bits and pieces going together and being put in before we close up the nose cone. And then we've got options to think about. Are we having this with the wings open? Are we having the wings folded up? What munitions are we using? And so we've got decisions to do the drilling. And unlike the recent Cromwell, all the drilling instructions tell you what diameter drill bit to use, which in the case of all of this is 1mm. I think the Airfix really missed a trick with the Cromwell by letting Academy do their instructions, because Academy instructions are not to the high standards of Airfix. These are lovely. So you can see very clearly where things are going. You can see what was the last item you put in. You've got very clear directional arrows. Yeah, and you've got your paint shout outs as you go. So beautiful. So we're building up all sort of the engines, and then we've got the underside fuselage going in, sealing that all together. But the engine construction's quite involved, you know. And we've got support frames for the wings if they're going to be left folded out, so that's just going to strengthen the structure. And then we've got the wing construction if they're going to be left fixed. Then we've got a little note here: when building this model with air brakes open, follow steps 45 to 49, so that's nice and clear. Have little images there saying this is an option, what do you want to do. So I first saw that in their Hellcat, and it's really helpful. So you know that this step is for open air brakes only. So if you're going to not bother with that, you don't have to do these bits, and it's nice and clear. I think it adds some lovely animation to the kit having the air brakes open, so I definitely will have mine open. Then we've got the bomb bay. So we noted that the bulkheads were completely plain, and there is indeed nice detailed parts to go in there, making that look really beautiful. Or of course you can seal it all up and not see any of that, but why would you do that? So yeah, that all looks lovely. Got a little section that goes in the wing there. I'm guessing that was so they can keep it crisply detailed within the moulding process. Got some pipe work around the engine there, which means that these little hatches will be able to be modelled opened or closed, which is again lovely. Lots of animation on this model. Some of the small parts going on onto the assembly, and then the clear parts that we saw are wing tips. So that's really interesting. Nose wheel. Was there anything mentioned about? I didn't see anything about weight in the nose. Did I miss that, or is it not needed? Just flicking back. Apologies. No. Oh yeah, yeah. 15 grams of weight in the nose cone. So some liquid lead in there. Then we've got front wheel assembly, and then more small parts, arrestor hook. It looks really detailed, doesn't it? Then we've got the pilot as an option with the shout outs for all the different colours for the pilot. I noticed the pilot wasn't on the big A3 sheets. The refueling nozzle, which was a permanent fixture on the front of these things. Then we've got the build-up of the ordnance and the options and locating them. Obviously, that's dictated by the decisions you made right at the start of the build when you drilled through. And then there's a note here about cutting the decal. Fit decal before attaching weapon or tanks. That's a really good reminder. It helps you avoid you making a schoolboy error and going, oh, I put that on and now I've got to put a decal under it. And then we've got some more drilling out options if you've got the wings folded and want ordnance on it. And again, they've given you the dimensions of the drill bit, and then putting those together, and that's step 84, which completes the build. Wow, that's very busy. Again, it's 1/72 scale. I and I think that looks really lovely. But as always with Airfix aircraft kits, it doesn't take long for the aftermarket boys to discover it and get behind it. So let's take a look at some of the aftermarket stuff available for this kit whilst we're at it. So let's start with Eduard. So there is a set of masks available. So it's a fairly small sheet, but it's die cut, and it covers the wheels as well as the cockpit canopy, so that's really nice. I'm not going to open it. It just on camera, it's just going to look like a square of yellow masking tape. But yeah, you've got the cockpit and you've got the wheels covered in there, so that's nice. Then we have photo etch. So their photo etch set for this has 2 etch frets. So let's take a closer look at those. So this first fret covers parts for the cockpit. So we've got some of the dials and equipment in the pre-painted etch that Eduard do. They've really improved that pre-painted etch over the years, and that is some of the finest I've seen them do. They've really managed to get the texturing down. We've got some seat belts and we've got the ejector pulls there, which they're gonna look beautiful on the seats there. Some very small fine parts. Those loops will be very, very delicate. And then the second brass fret of parts gives us again some really delicate, look at that, really delicate parts, some wiring looms, and we've got new surfaces for the air brakes there. So let's have a quick look at the instructions. So typical Eduard instruction sheet, tells you what you're getting, gives you a little key there, so it's telling you all these red bits need to be cut off, and then we build up the seats. There's a lot of detail being added to the ejector seats, and they looked quite good as they were, so we're really elevating this to something quite special with the seat belts on. How well they'll go on if you're putting the pilot on, don't know. Be interesting to see. Then you've got your new dashboards going on. Pedals will be improved. More cockpit details. A little bit of engine detail, but nothing much because Airfix have done such a splendid job of it. Then all that detail we saw in the engine bay, Eduard have elevated it again with these little etched parts which have got rivet detail on that was missing. So that's going to really enhance the look of that. Then you've got the air brake build up here. So interestingly, it's not saying remove all that, it's saying add it on top. To have a look at that, see what we think about that. Some detail there where the moulding process didn't allow it. A little bit of finer detail on the arrestor hook, and some interior detail, and handles for the cockpit hood. So let's be honest, you could absolutely make that kit straight out of the box and it'll look special. But what Eduard are doing is just allowing you to raise your game a little bit there, if you like. Brassing replacement resin wheels. So you've got a number of different wheels here. Again, the hubs are moulded in on one side at least, and then you've got these sort of inserts that go in on the back. They do add something. You've got more detail on the tyre. You've got the manufacturer's wording on the tyre, but that's the only real difference. There's no tread or anything on these, so it's not making a big difference to your kit. These came as part of a big head set, and you got them in there. But if you were buying these separately, I'd have to think long and hard about whether it was worth buying the wheels or not, because the ones in the kit are perfectly good. But yeah, they do look lovely. And then we've got some additional resin from Quick Boost. So antennas, and Quick Boost always give you 2 of everything. So these are really finely moulded parts, very delicate. So I'm glad that you've got 2, because it's going to be easy to break them. And then this one is air intakes and fuel vents. So again, very delicate parts. Let's have a quick look at the instructions. That's our instructions. So the parts have got a number, and then it says number 1 replaces kit part E3, number 2 replaces kit part F7, and so on. So there's no actual fitting instructions. These are replacement parts. So you're going to have to go through your kit instructions and just mark them up so that you don't miss these. I think they've even given you 3 of some of them, maybe because we're using 2 on the kit. There we have it, the Airfix 172 Blackburn Buccaneer. What's my first impressions? Wow, 172 scale. They've absolutely packed the detail in. They've given you lots and lots of options. Air brakes open, wings folded, canopy, cockpit open or close, wheels up or down. Some of those you'd expect, some of those are nice to have, some of them you perhaps wouldn't expect. You know, they didn't have to go and put the air brakes on. They have crammed loads into this little kit, and it's all the better for it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, a really stunning kit, and I'm really looking forward to building it. And I think it's going to look amazing in this lovely navy colour. It's I had a period when I didn't build Airfix kits in the 90s and early 2000s, because I got quite involved in building armoured fighting vehicles, and so I wasn't building aircraft, and Airfix had never been massive on ships, so what I was building, Airfix weren't feeding with me. But when I came back to building aircraft not so long ago, actually, I've only been building aircraft again in the last 12 months, you can tell that Airfix have massively upped their game in recent years, and the kits are absolutely beautiful. And if like me, you sort of went away from Airfix thinking that, you know, it was perhaps a more serious grown-up model was a Tamiya model, then I would encourage you to go and have a look at Airfix again, because their new stuff, as we've seen today, is really stunning. So there we have it. From my first impression is, yeah, really lovely. Definitely one to build. Definitely one to put in your stash. Hope that was helpful for anyone who's been umming and ahhing. If you've got any questions about the kit that you want me to answer, put them in your comments. Obviously, I can only answer questions about what's in the box unbuilt. Otherwise, I haven't got a clue. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all again soon.